Content warning. This episode contains depictions of mental illness.
Hello friends, this is John Holmes welcoming you to part 4 of the Destination Yesterday production of The Shambler from the Stars. To fully understand the investigation which is in progress, you are advised to listen to the story from the start. You will find links to episode 1 to 3 on the Destination Yesterday website and Facebook page. And now, a brief recap of part 3. A search for a used bookstore in Ipswich ended in a meeting with a mysterious man. A writing teacher who possessed a copy of a story thought to hold the true account of Philip Truelove's death went missing after entering St Bartholomew's Park, a park with a reputation for being haunted. A bookshop visit full of mystery saw Owen Blakewell order a copy of the Book of Ibon, a rare tome of the occult. Tristan Elliot related a strange story of portals leading to other worlds, which he heard from one of his dark web contacts. We rejoin the story with Owen Blakewell making a phone call.
Hello, Owen.
Hi, Jennifer. I've been thinking about the vision I had earlier, and I believe I know where we'll find a copy of Brett Lawrence's last story.
Great. I haven't had a chance to listen to the recording yet. I'm sorry. I got home to find that the lady upstairs had a problem with a leak, and it came right down into my kitchen.
Oh, that's awful. I hope it's straightened out now.
Sort of. I put a bucket out to catch the drops that are still falling. On to your news.
Yes, I think that Brett Lawrence might have left a copy of his last story rolled up and hidden somewhere in his hallway. We need to get into his house and search for it. Do you want to come to Ipswich with me again?
Sure. Are the police going to let us into the house?
Actually, no, they don't do that. But I called my friend Charlie at the DPSR and he's arranged something for me with a locksmith in Ipswich. Not being technically minded, I doubt that Mr. Lawrence has a burglar alarm or CCTV.
Wait, let me get this straight. Are you asking me to go to Ipswich and commit a crime with you?
No. Charlie knows what we're doing, and he doesn't have a problem with it.
And if a kindly neighbour calls the police to say that 3 strange people are entering the house...
2. The locksmith will leave after he's opened the door.
And how do we lock the door when we're done if we don't have a key?
His shop's not far away. We call him when we're done, and he sends someone to sort it.
It still doesn't sound right to just...
Okay. I can go alone, and...
No, you can't. Team rule.
I just thought you might like to have lunch at the little cafe on...
Are you trying to bribe me now? Why don't you just contact the police and tell them that the IIFI needs to access the Lawrence house for their investigation? Surely they'd be okay with that, and we could proceed. Legally.
They can be a bit awkward, and I'm tired of mentioning the DPSR and more or less saying, "Do you know who my big brother is?" And it would be so embarrassing if they turned me down.
Oh, God.
So, I tell you what. I'm going to call James Gilman at the DPSR and ask him to clear it with the Ipswich police that we can use a locksmith to enter the Lawrence residence for a search. Would that make you happy?
Well, why didn't you just do that in the first place?
I didn't know I was taking my conscience to Ipswich with me.
Well, I think it's a good thing that you have me around. And yes, I'll go to Ipswich with you. I'm looking forward to my cake and cappuccino.
I don't know if you deserve it now. Making me call James. I hate asking him for favours.
Suck it up, Owen.
I woke early on Friday morning. I had a feeling it was going to be a busy day. Checking my emails, I found I was right. I had a message from the hospital which was caring for Brett Lawrence, saying that they considered him stable enough to have visitors. They suggested I avoid 12:30 to 1:30 since that's when they served lunch. I quickly replied to this message saying I would be coming today and aiming for 11 o'clock. It was convenient that Jennifer and I could combine this with our planned house search. I was looking forward to speaking to Mr. Lawrence and seeing how he was progressing, but I didn't know how much information he'd be able or willing to provide. I'd also received a short message from James Gilman. He wanted to talk. I sent an email back asking if he'd like to attend our 9 o'clock team meeting. His reply? Yes, and a smiley face. Oh dear, I suddenly realized I wasn't in Kansas anymore. Good morning, Jennifer. Has the leak stopped?
Oh, God, don't remind me. But yes, it seems to have stopped. Now my ceiling's a mess.
I've arranged to see Brett Lawrence today at 11 o'clock. Since we'll also be checking out his house as well, would you mind driving us down to Ipswich rather than taking the train? It'd save a lot of hassle this time round. I'll cover petrol and lunch expenses.
Fine with me. I'll come over to your place as soon as the meeting's over. Hey, maybe we can get the key from Brett when we see him.
We'll have to play it by ear and see what state of mind he's in. We don't want to upset him unnecessarily, but yes, it's a possibility.
Sounds good. Oh, forgot to mention, I'm going to go and see Frank Armitage tomorrow morning. He's got a notebook filled with recipes using those vegetables, and Truelove put it together for him. He said it has drawings and names for the various plants. Sounds amazing. I'll get it scanned and up on the server while I'm at his place. He said it's about 20 pages.
Hello.
Hi, folks.
Morning, all.
Hello, all.
Hi.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Oh, Mr. Gilman. A pleasure, sir. Ah, Mr. Elliot, I see you've abandoned the cat weasel look. Hey, did you watch that when you were a kid? That creates a picture. Well, I have another meeting to attend in person in half an hour, so can we please get on with business?
Of course, James.
Thank you. Firstly, we've finally identified the substance that was coating the body of Philip Truelove when he was found. We had to bring in a white witch.
What? Really?
Seriously?
Fascinating. May I continue? She identified the viscous liquid as remnants of a spell known as Hidden. So our Mr. Truelove was hiding his real identity.
How does that work?
She described it as a transformation, like a chameleon, I suppose you could say, but on a larger scale, obviously. He would have then taken a new name and, well, started a new life.
So, before he did that, there was no such person as Philip Truelove?
Correct.
Oh, wow, what a fascinating process. By the way, who's your white witch? I'm sure my nan'd love to meet her.
I'll have to ask her permission and get back to you.
Great. And while that's very interesting news, you could have just notified us and uploaded it into the folder with all the other findings of the medical team.
There's another little matter. I thought I'd give you a heads up. I've been in contact with the law firm Mr. Truelove used to inquire about the disposition of his estate, and, well, you'll be receiving a letter from them today.
Me? Why?
He's left you something in his will.
Oh,
No
fascinating.
kidding.
What?
Really?
Oh, and he's left you the house. No, that's not right. You own the house. He put you down as co-owner when he bought it.
What? But what identity was he hiding? Who was he?
We were hoping you could help us there. We have no idea. Someone with an interest in magic? A writer? Who is close enough to you that they would make you their benefactor? Someone who disappeared suddenly?
I can't think of anyone offhand. It's just so strange. So, because of this, I own a fire-damaged house, for now at least. And until I figure out what to do with it, I'll have to pay for its upkeep. Council tax. Oh, no. My taxes are going to go through the roof.
Well, I might as well tell you the rest. You're his sole benefactor. The house contents, of course, go with the property since you own it, but there's a great deal of money, not to mention the rights to his books. Oh, you own his car as well. It was also purchased with you as co-owner.
Those lawyers told you enough. Isn't there any such thing as privacy anymore?
Don't be naive. And speaking of privacy, I've changed the password on my personal file.
Now he's being naive.
Hold on. What about the aunt mentioned in the newspaper article? She might try to get...
Fake news. Whoever it was who provided the papers with the cover-up story invented her as that personal touch, I suppose. I'd better be heading off now. If you think of anyone who might fit the bill of our mysterious Mr. Truelove, please let me know. I suppose you'll be the person in charge of his funeral arrangements.
Oh, God.
That's all right. I can help you with that. I've dealt with that sort of thing before.
Thank you, Ben. I wouldn't know where to start.
There's no hurry on that. We'll hold on to the body until you're ready. One last thing before I go, Owen. You don't need to come to me with requests to step in and arrange things with the police. I've told them that the IIFI has equal standing with the DPSR. If they give you any hassle, feel free to mention my name.
Oh, thank you.
It's in both our interests. I'll be going now. See you later.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
Cheers, James.
Goodbye.
Phew, Owen. That is one amazing situation. From the pictures of what's in that house, you've got some cool stuff. Those paintings in the living room alone are worth a fair bit.
And a car. Oh, God. Inheritance tax. I've heard about that, but never really understood it. Will I have to pay that? And if so, when?
Don't you have an accountant for the IIFI who can advise you on that? Anyway, you own the car and the house and contents. All you're inheriting is money and book rights, it seems.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just so shocked.
You're the only person I know who could turn inheriting money and getting book rights and God knows what else into a big problem. Anyway, we need to get this meeting back on track because we're supposed to be at the hospital at 11 o'clock, remember?
Yes, of course. So let's start with your street art photos. Has everyone had a chance to look at those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're brilliant. Some of the taggers are top-notch artists, aren't they?
Taggers? Is that what the group of artists are called?
Hey, I thought you knew all about this. Didn't you folks read the notes I put up along with the audio file of my talk with Owen?
I only saw the audio file. What did you call the text document?
Wait a minute, let me check. Oh, damn. Sorry, folks, it didn't go. There's nothing there. I'll try uploading it again now.
Can you give us a quick overview and we'll read it later?
Sure thing. Some taggers just put their signatures on a building so people know they were there. But others, sometimes in a pair or a group, will do a real work of art. Looks like you have a very busy bunch of taggers there in Norwich. That art was put on as a warning to tell others that those buildings are dangerous. Another thing, I bet that whoever was using those buildings will have moved on and found other deserted places to use. God knows every city seems to have a large amount of abandoned and unused properties and warehouses.
That's true. But I wonder who was using them.
The clue might be in the art. But hey, some just do weird creature and horror art because that's their thing. But this stuff, I'd take it as a serious warning.
Why? You just said...
No signatures, just art. That means trouble.
So, what should we look for to find out where these cultists are setting themselves up? Maybe abandoned buildings with no graffiti on them yet?
What? You want to go out looking for trouble? And you tell me to be careful?
It might be the only way to find the people we're looking for. It's just an option.
Move your chair over, dear.
Oh, okay, Nan. Did you want to share something?
Yes. I'm sure you all know by now that I've been working with the replica of the Church of Starry Wisdom amulet, which was delivered yesterday. Well, I fused it with a minute fragment of an artefact from the vault, and it...
What?
You won't even notice, dear.
Which artifact?
Just trust me. It's nothing. Anyway, this amulet is now as good as the original. When the process was completed, writing appeared on the back. It says, and excuse my Latin, Ecclesia aperit aditus ad novus mundus, which translates roughly as the church opens doorways to new worlds.
Well, isn't that sweet?
Doorways to new worlds. What do you think, Tristan? A reference to the portals?
Could be.
But I don't know how this amulet would link up with that. In your story, the cultist had an orb which opened the portal.
Yeah, that's right. But you said yourself that the original amulets seem very old. Maybe they used them in the past.
It might not have any bearing on what we're looking into at the moment. Still, it's something to keep in mind in case it links up somewhere along the road. I'll take a couple of photos of the amulet and pop them up when we're done here. Does anyone else have anything to report?
Nothing from me, but Sylvia's checking out that email that came in while you were talking.
Yeah, it's an email from the police. There seems to be some problem regarding Leo Balcom's home. They won't say what it is. They want someone from the IIFI to call them and arrange to meet them at the site as soon as possible.
They've already searched the house. I wonder why they're being so mysterious. Tony, Ben, can you handle that?
Certainly.
Not a problem.
Remember, don't take anything for granted. Stay suspicious of everyone and everything. This sounds a bit odd to me.
Owen, you know I couldn't get more paranoid than I already am, lad.
Yeah, and I love that about you, Ben. Okay, is that all we have for this morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess.
Okay, Jennifer, I'll be ready when you get here.
Great.
Sylvia, are you bringing your laptop over to work here today?
You bet. Your knowledge is invaluable when I'm doing the cataloguing in the vault.
Owen, I'll be on my way to yours in 5 minutes or so. See you soon.
True to my word, I took photos of each side of the Church of Starry Wisdom amulet and popped them up on the server in our growing folder of items relating to the Church of Starry Wisdom. Jennifer arrived before Sylvia, so we decided to wait until Sylvia arrived safely before departing. It took nearly an hour to reach our destination. Once there, we went straight to the reception desk where a man was busy on the phone.
As well as a brochure showing the layout of the hospital, so you'll be able to find the correct department. Thank you. Hello, how may I help you?
Hello, my name's Owen Blakewell and this is Jennifer Morgan. We're from Eyes for Investigate and we're here to see Brett Lawrence.
Oh, yes. He's expecting you. Dr. Ward said Brett wasn't very happy about the news, and he may...
Oh, God, did he tell him that we're investigators? He thinks we're two journalists.
Well, I must say that even if you had asked us to lie to him for you, we would not have done it.
We wanted to break the news to him gently and explain what we're doing.
Well, be that as it may, the situation can't be changed now. You'll find him in room...
It's all right, Collins. I'll take Mr. Blakewell and Miss Morgan to the room. I'm Dr. Ward. Come this way, please.
I just hope he'll see us.
His meds will have kicked in by now, and he'll be in a better mood to listen. I'm sure everything will be fine. He could use someone to talk to. At the moment, he still spends a lot of time just talking out loud to the air. He keeps saying he's sorry. Regret can be a terrible thing. Here we are. Let me just tell him you're here. Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Blakewell and Miss Morgan are here to see you.
I don't want to see them. They lied to me.
Mr. Lawrence? We're very sorry about that, but we thought it was the only way you'd let us talk to you, and we wanted to help you. Will you give us a chance to explain? We'll leave afterwards if you want us to.
Come in.
I'll leave you with him, but please try not to excite him, and keep the visit to 15 minutes or less. I'll be back to see you this afternoon for our session, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you.
The doctor walked away as we entered Brett's room. He looked very different than he had the last time we'd seen him. He'd lost the gauntness and was clean and looked reasonably well rested.
Hello. May we sit down?
Yes. For now.
We were concerned about you. How are you?
You said you were going to explain why you lied to me. The names are right, but you said you were reporters.
We didn't think you'd speak to investigators, and we were concerned about your safety. It seems that you've made someone angry enough to try to kill you. And we know that you were with Mr. Truelove on the night he died.
No!
Brett, you don't need to lie to us. We've got CCTV footage of you leaving the house after the fire started. It wasn't your fault, but...
Not my fault! Not my fault! I took the book to him. If only... If only...
The book, yes. But you were set up. There was someone who wanted you to find the book, De Vermis Mysterious. You were meant to find it in the old bookshop.
What? Set me up?
Yes.
Why me? I'm nobody.
We think it's because of some information you had. We know that Philip Truelove provided you with a list of names of people who had access to rare occult books. Someone, or maybe more than one person, didn't like that. They wanted to get rid of you because they felt you were a threat to them. Well, that's what we think. Do you think that's possible?
I guess so. But I wasn't going to tell on them. I can keep a secret. I know lots of secrets. They shouldn't have done it.
We agree with you. We want to make the person who did this pay for the death of Mr. Truelove. Can you tell us any of the names which...
No, I'm not a tattletale. I keep my word. I promised Phil that I'd be good and not tell. You can't make me.
Okay. We wouldn't try to force you to do anything you don't want to do. But that means they won't be punished for murdering your friend.
They won't be.
That's right.
Why did they do it? They shouldn't have worried. I did what Phil asked. I took the stamped envelopes and 10 copies of my letter to his house, and then I added the names from his little blue book, and then I left them there for him to post. He said he'd take them to Peterborough when he was going to do a book signing, and he'd post them there. I doubt I could even remember any of the names now.
From his little blue book?
Yes, but it's gone. I tried to find it before I started the fire. I wanted to make sure no one got their hands on it. I needed to make sure it burned. I had to do that for him. He'd helped me. He was my friend. But I couldn't find it.
Do you have any idea where...
You'll never get it. Maybe it did burn. He didn't want to take it from that room. I had to go up there to write the names on the envelopes. Yes, it must have burned.
You're likely right, Brett. It burned. That's fine.
Brett, is there anything you'd like us to get for you? We're going to be in Ipswich for the rest of the day. We could go to your house
No, I have everything I need.
Do you have enough paper if you want to write any...
I don't feel like writing. Goodbye. I'm going to have a nap now. I'm tired.
We rose and said our goodbyes. It was only when we turned to leave that we saw her. A nurse was standing in the doorway by a trolley.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just a student nurse. Please don't say anything to the doctor about this. But this morning he told me not to forget to tell Mr. Lawrence about his new medication and, well,
New medicine?
Yes, Mr. Lawrence. The doctor has decided he'd like to try something a bit different. You'll have to take it while you're having your lunch today. It's not good on an empty stomach. It just means that you won't be having your usual evening visits to provide your pills, okay?
Thank you, Nurse...
Poppleston. Mary Poppleston.
Mary. That's a nice name. I'm going to sleep, Mary. Will you put the Do Not Disturb sign on my door, please?
Yes, Mr. Lawrence, certainly.
The young nurse avoided our gaze as she hurried out of the room, still nervous about her mistake, I suppose. We left with her, and she paused to do as requested, hanging the sign on his doorknob. Then she walked away quickly down a connecting hallway.
Talk about unprofessional. Maybe we should mention it.
She was just doing as she was told. We need more student nurses. You know the state of the NHS as well as I do.
Okay. This place just makes me... I just want to get out of here.
Me too. Come on, this way.
As we continued down the hall towards the front door, I had to hold back the urge to remind Owen of what he had said in our earlier meeting when speaking to Ben and Tony. Don't take anything for granted. Stay suspicious of everyone and everything. I kept quiet. When we reached the reception desk, Owen stopped.
Hello, Mr. Blackwell. Can I help you?
I was just wondering, do you have any student nurses here? It's just that my niece told me she was getting a placement at a hospital here in Ipswich. She majored in psychology. Her name's Mary Poppleston.
Oh, yes, Mary works here. She's coming along very well. You should be very proud of her.
We are. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I felt bad about having doubted Owen. He had enough to put up with since I was starting to understand his frustration at people getting his name wrong. We left the hospital and quickly found our way to the car. When we arrived at Brett Lawrence's house, I called the locksmith. Owen was going to, but he discovered that he'd forgotten his phone at home on the charger. It took less than 5 minutes for someone to arrive. The young employee unlocked the door and promised us there would be someone available to lock the door when we were done. While we'd been waiting, we'd planned our attack. I was to take the upstairs hall, leaving Owen downstairs. No space was to be left unchecked. Although we had a feeling it might be stuck in a vase or something similar, we were to search for loose floorboards and secret panels in the walls. It was quite an old house, and Owen assured me that such things were not unusual. I've been over and over every board in that hallway. There's nothing there. Well, nothing I could find. Are you done searching down here?
Yes. I don't understand it. I thought it'd be easier than this.
Do you want to swap and I'll do a second check down here while you go upstairs?
I think it'd be a waste of time. I must have interpreted the vision incorrectly. But what else could it mean?
A lot of good visions are if they're that hard to understand. I thought they'd be, well...
You thought it would be straightforward, that I'd see Brett stick it in the blue vase on the hall table?
It seems pointless to have visions if they're so oblique that you might never understand them.
On occasion, they're quite obvious. At other times, they're really abstract. I often wonder if I just overthink them. I've had a lot of years of practice, but I still have problems with some of the things I see.
So, if you misinterpreted this one, what else could the vision have meant?
I'll need time to think about it.
Okay. Going somewhere nice to relax is out of the question. I don't suppose the locksmith wants to run back and forth locking and unlocking doors for us.
You're right. But we could sit on that low wall out front. I'm finding it quite oppressive in here.
Fine with me, but I'm going to grab a glass of water first. I'm parched. Would you like one too?
Nah, I'll be okay. Sitting on the wall, I went over the vision again in my mind, trying to see it. The rolled-up pages sticking out of the wall, pulling them out, and then the jester coming through the hole in the wall and taking the scroll from me. Then he was dancing down the hallway, tossing copies aside as he moved away. I wasn't getting anywhere. Jennifer emerged from the front door and sat down next to me.
Oh, I needed that. He had some ice cubes in the freezer. Are you sure you don't want something?
No, we'll give up on this soon and just go to the cafe where I can drown my sorrow in. Coffee. Just strong black coffee.
You'll regret it. You and strong coffee don't mix. It just makes you hyper. Don't be so hard on yourself. Think of something else. That always helps me. Hey, what do you think of Brett Lawrence's hobby? I remember when we first went to see him and noticing the half-finished building on a table in the far corner of the room. There were some modeling tools and small tins of paint around. Considering he does carpentry for the theater, it's not surprising that he makes spooky buildings in his spare time. There were a couple on a shelf in the kitchen. There were 3 or 4 in his living room, I think.
I didn't really pay attention. I didn't want any distractions.
Oh. I think I recognize one as The House of Usher. I saw that movie so often when I was a kid that I could quote whole scenes from it.
House?
Yeah, amazingly detailed, spooky houses.
That could be it.
And the hallway we're looking for
is in a model house.
What are we waiting for?
We almost stumbled over each other in our haste to get back into the house. We paused in the hallway, deciding where to start. Living room first. That's where he must have written the story.
Not this one. Oh my God, I think I can see something white inside that one over there.
Is there any way to get the paper out without breaking it?
It should be hollow. Just lift it up carefully.
Oh. It's a bit awkward. Hold this a minute. I think this is it. Just a minute. Death from the Sky. My God, it's all here. He's changed the names, of course. It says his friend was almost hypnotized by the text and couldn't stop reading. The creature broke through the window. Oh, Lord, the description of the thing that killed him. No wonder Brett went mad.
I think this deserves a celebration.
Oh, yes, definitely. But first, can you scan these and pop them up on our server and the DPSRs? I'll hold them flat for you.
Good idea. You know, you really have to get used to the fact that a smartphone is a handy little thing to have around.
Yeah, but I'm fed up with people who bump into me on sidewalks because they're staring at a damned screen instead of looking where they're going. And then there's the parents who pay more attention to their phones than they do to their kids.
Hey, I get it. But to me, it's a tool, not a way of life. That's why you provided it, right? I actually don't have one of my own. Okay, flip the sheets over for me.
Four little pages that prove our suspicions.
What are you going to do with the original?
I think we should just put it back where it was. It's not our property. Can you just make sure the file's uploaded okay?
One moment.
I don't want to take any chances.
Okay. Present and accounted for, sir.
Jennifer called the locksmith, and as soon as we'd secured the house, we adjourned to our favourite local cafe, enjoyed our afternoon tea selection, and then headed back to Norwich. As we pulled up to the house, I was feeling happy to be home. Nan must have been listening for us. The motor hadn't stopped before she was through the front door and calling to us. She'd heard from Ben and Tony, and since they had a stone they wanted to show her, the team meeting was going to be held at ours around 4 o'clock.
Jennifer, would you like to go down to the vault and see if Sylvia needs any help? I need to speak to my grandson. Alone.
Okay. See you later.
Is there a problem, Nan? And why do you have Sylvia's recorder?
I want a record of this conversation. Something arrived for you today.
Oh, the letter from the lawyer. I'd forgotten all about that.
Oh, yes, there's that as well. But you had a parcel, hand-delivered, by a local bookshop.
What? Ah, the book I ordered. Well, Nan, I knew you'd be upset, but I had to order something. They expected me to do that. It's why that man in Ipswich gave me his business card.
So you thought you'd help them to go ahead with their plan? How kind of you.
It was necessary if I wanted to find out more about them. I thought they'd at least wrap the book.
Oh, they wrapped it? Do you think I can't tell when I'm holding a book of that nature?
Oh, I see.
And it has a spell attached to it. Hold this, just for a second, no longer. What did you feel?
It was nice and warm.
There. You would have happily opened it. I wonder if I have to move in with you.
Would you?
No. James would have seen through a trick like that.
Well, I guess I'm... What? Hold on. James? As in Gilman?
Oh, I might as well tell you now. He asked me to help him with some simple things like wards and spell recognition.
Asked you? Well, is he paying you?
I wouldn't take money from him. He offered to, but...
You! Wait a minute. You're the White Witch he called in. But how did he know you were here?
I used a magical device called a telephone to keep in touch with him.
And to think, I asked him if he could give me the name of... Oh, forget it. How many other people do you teach?
James is the only one outside of you and your team. You see, he did a lot to help a young relative of mine, and I'm grateful for that. Anyway, he always takes me out for a meal when we're done. But back to you. I'm going to have to put you through a lot more spell recognition training if you're going to step into traps like this. I thought the whole team knew about our object-connected spells. Well, except Jennifer, and maybe Sylvia.
I guess it's been a while, and maybe we all should have more training in that area. But does that mean you'll be staying a bit longer?
I'll think about it. But what I will do is arrange regular sessions for your bunch in the future. I might come and stay with you for 1 week out of each month for a while.
Great. What's for tea tonight?
You rascal. I think you're ordering out for us tonight. I want Chinese.
Nan took the wrapped book down to the laboratory and told me she'd deal with it later. Whatever that meant, I didn't ask. I took the recorder and went to my study to upload the audio we'd made in Ipswich, and then went to have a nice hot shower. I felt a need to wash away the residue of the day. It had been exhausting in many ways. Refreshed, I went downstairs to the kitchen to get a drink. It was there that I found my smartphone sitting on the counter. Ever efficient, Nan had unplugged it from the charger for me. I picked it up and turned it on to discover I had a missed call and a voice message. It was the hospital. They wanted me to get in touch with them. I turned cold inside. I went into the parlour to sit down and used the landline and dialed nervously. Sorry to disturb you, ladies, but I've just spoken to a doctor from the hospital in Ipswich. Brett Lawrence is dead.
How awful.
What
happened?
He was fine. How did he die?
I spoke to Dr. Ward. He said he went to Brett for their afternoon counselling session and found him curled up on the floor by a closed window. He said it doesn't make sense.
What did he say?
He said his injuries were that of a man who'd been struck by lightning.
How can that be?
That's unbelievable.
Struck by lightning? Why does that sound familiar?
What did you say, Kate?
I know, it was Ronald Gibbard. He came to my mother back in, about 1949, I think it was. Yes, I would have been 12 at the time. He swore something was after him. Asked her to make him a charm, a potion, anything. My mother told me to go to my room. I could hear them arguing for a few minutes, and then the front door slammed. 2 days later, I heard people around the town saying that he had been found dead in his home, and it looked as if he'd been struck by lightning. But his windows were all closed, and there had been no storm.
Did you ever find out what killed him?
Not what it was, no. But Mother said he had looked upon the light one, the bright one, something like that. She had said he was marked for death, and no one could save him. She told me not to speak of it again.
It was 4:10 when Ben and Tony arrived. Tristan was skipping the meeting due to something else he had happening with one of his contacts, so we were recording everything we could to make sure he was kept in the loop. Jennifer was kind enough to provide Ben and Tony with a quick summary of our day, up to receiving the call from the hospital to tell us of Brett Lawrence's death and the apparent cause.
I wonder what the chances are of finding that blue address book. That's a list of names I'd like to see.
Well, Brett couldn't find it to destroy it, but he seemed convinced that the fire must have done it for him. So, guys, why did the police send us that mysterious email?
I think it's because they didn't want to put it in writing that something impossible had happened. The lovely, well-kept house of Leo Balcom, which they searched for clues only yesterday, has amazingly transformed itself into an old ruin with boarded-up windows.
Sounds like the suddenly appearing bookshop that Jennifer and I visited.
Indeed.
Except in reverse.
Okay, I get it. But how can you do that in a neighborhood with a lot of houses? Someone is going to think it's very odd when a dilapidated house turns into a desirable property overnight and then a while later turns back into a wreck. There'd be talk.
Yes, and to be fair, it's the talk about the recent transformation that caused the police to revisit the house. 2 different people in the neighborhood had called up to say there was something strange going on at that address, and they were concerned. The police actually described the callers as sounding frightened. So this house was a front. But how long had it been going on? A year, 10, 20 or more? A reason that it must have been going on for quite a while. Tony suggested we pop to the archive centre on Martin O'Lane and check out the property records. But first, since we're in the right area, we decided to check out the park where Leo Balcom disappeared. Tony would like to take over. I need a drink.
Okay. So we went to St. Bartholomew's Park and split up briefly, keeping in touch on our phones. Don't look at me like that, Jennifer. Oh, where was I? Yeah, we were going to see where this guy might have gone if he wanted to avoid being picked up by CCTV as he left the area. Cameras aren't that thick on the ground, so it can be done quite easily. If you know where they are, that is. We met back at the old church tower. I had a stone in my shoe, so I leaned on the tower, intending to get it out. I almost fell over from whatever it was I felt coming from that tower. From surprise, you understand, not intensity, though. You said I was becoming quite sensitive to spells, Kate, but I wasn't prepared for that.
Now, if I could just get Owen up to pace with you, Tony, and that's something you haven't mentioned to them yet.
Don't worry, I will.
Kate, here's a piece of the stone from near the door. I chipped it off with my pocket knife.
Before I touch it, can I just ask if you can feel anything from that fragment yourself, Tony?
Yes, I can. Not like touching the building, but there is something there.
Let's try an experiment. Pass the fragment around, and I'd like each one of you to tell me if you feel anything. Ben?
It feels warm, but I expected it to be cold. Here you go, Sylvia.
It just feels like an ordinary pebble to me. Not warm at all. Jennifer?
Wow. It does feel warm and a little tingly.
That's unexpected. And Owen?
I'm on Team Sylvia. It's just an ordinary pebble.
I think you're just not trying. Give it to me, dear. Thank you. Ah, it's what I expected. It's a fragment of a portal. I would guess this is how your Leo Balcom disappeared.
But how does this all fit together? What was he up to?
If you remember from the recording of my call with Mr. Baird, the Strange Sagas editor, the original writing teacher, I think her name was Higgins, came down with COVID. Quite conveniently, maybe. That allowed the fake teacher, Leo Balcom, to move in, no doubt to keep an eye on Brett Lawrence and make sure everything went to plan, and to be ready with a backup plan if there were any problems, I suppose.
But how did he know he'd be hired? Did Baird know him?
Don't you remember that business about the ad which Baird had received in his emails? Perfect Profs, just the sort of name those places have. But when I tried to Google them, the web page had disappeared. They just kept it up long enough for Baird to check it out when he suddenly lost his tutor, and they made Leo the closest local writing teacher listed.
Well, one thing you can say for them is that they're very organized.
Yes, but I don't think this is the main body of starry wisdom we're dealing with. They work like one of the side branches of the cult. They're pretty good, and they obviously have a member or two in the fire department, or they wouldn't have been able to get hold of the amulet which we asked for from True Love's house. But how did they get past the ward?
I doubt they had to. Whoever went to get it was likely just told to take it back to the fire department.
Of course. I'm just off my game. I'm really nervous that the house isn't protected well enough. God knows what else is in there.
The church opens doorways to new worlds. That was written in Latin on the back of the amulet.
Oh, I see. The gateway in the old church. They didn't want us to have that clue. It seems they underestimated our ability to find that in other ways. Right, Tony?
It would seem so, right? Shall I tell you about our visit to the Archive Center now?
Please do.
So it turns out that the street where Mr. Balcom supposedly lived used to have a lot of abandoned and damaged properties on it. Back in 1952, the council decided to pull them all down and build new homes along the road. So, what Ben and I think is that one property was set aside for the cult knowingly. The others were built, families moved in, none of them suspecting there was anything wrong with one home in the neighborhood, because it looked just like the rest of them.
That's an interesting idea. And it fits with the stories that these cults linked to starry wisdom are full of influential people. I wonder what company was in charge of construction. Surely they'd have to be in on it.
You would think so, but they may have simply been told to leave one old property alone for some reason. The company's still around, so we don't want to name them here.
That's great work, guys.
What was it that Kate wanted you to tell us, Owen?
The book I ordered from the bookshop has arrived.
Oh, the Book of the Ebon.
Why do you say that, Jennifer?
Well, that's what he ordered.
Interesting. Because what they sent is De Vermis Mysteris.
This is John Holmes, and you have been listening to episode 4 of The Shambler from the Stars, based on a story of the same title by Robert Bloch, adapted for podcast by Michelle Perry Brooker, with additional material by Neil Brooker. The cast includes Neil Brooker as Owen Blakewell, John Buckett as Tristan Elliott, Samantha Dunlop as Kathleen O'Cleary, Jonathan Imbody as Brett Lawrence, Brian Karasek as Benjamin Wiley, James Leatherbarrow as James Gilman, Benny Lindbergh as Matt Collins, hospital receptionist, Tobias Nielsen as Anton Sorensen, Michelle Perry Brooker as Jennifer Morgan, Dom Richards as Dr. Ward, Samantha Underhill as Sylvia Grant, and Tara Glover as Nurse Mary Popplestone. Content warning by George Williams. This has been a Destination Yesterday production.